Joyful life lessons from the LGBTQ community, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I want to talk about something truly beautiful. Vibrant, joyful life lessons we can all learn from the LGBTQ community. These lessons are not just for one group or identity. They are universal truths about courage, authenticity, love, and resilience. In a world often filled with division and judgment, the LGBTQ community shines as a beacon of hope, unity, and joyful defiance against conformity. Joy is not merely happiness. Joy is resistance. Joy is the audacity to dance in the rain of adversity, to love when it's easier to hide, and to exist proudly when the world says, be smaller. These life lessons, lived out boldly by so many LGBTQ individuals, remind us of the power of being unapologetically ourselves. Let us open our hearts and minds to these lessons, and in doing so, discover what it truly means to live freely, love boldly, and walk joyfully. Living your truth unapologetically is one of the most powerful life lessons we can learn from the LGBTQ community. It means stepping into the fullness of who you are, even when the world tells you to shrink. It means waking up each day with the decision to be honest, not just with others, but with yourself. This lesson is not just about sexuality or gender identity. It applies to every human being who has ever felt the pressure to wear a mask to fit in. The LGBTQ community models this bravery through daily acts of self-declaration, even when faced with risk, rejection, or misunderstanding. For many LGBTQ individuals, the journey toward self-acceptance is not an easy one. It often starts with an inner whisper, a feeling that something doesn't align with the world's expectations. Over time, this whisper grows into a calling, a truth that refuses to stay silent. To live this truth requires a fierce courage, the courage to come out, to be seen, to be heard, and to be different. It's a process of peeling away layers of fear, shame, and social conditioning to reveal something beautifully honest. There's a unique power in refusing to apologize for who you are. Apologies imply wrongdoing, but how can existing as your authentic self ever be wrong? When LGBTQ individuals reject the demand to apologize for their identity, they reclaim power that society has tried to deny them. This resistance not only strengthens the individual, but also sends a message to others that they too can live freely. It becomes a chain reaction of truth-telling that ripples through communities, liberating others in its wake. Living your truth doesn't require perfection. In fact, it demands imperfection, the raw, unfiltered expression of the real you. Whether it's embracing your femininity as a man, your masculinity as a woman, your gender fluidity, or your unique way of seeing the world, the act of showing up as yourself in an often judgmental society is radical. It reminds us that authenticity doesn't have to be neat or polished to be powerful. It just has to be real. Often, the pressure to conform is born from fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of judgment. The LGBTQ community teaches us that while those fears may never fully disappear, they can be faced. And with each courageous step toward authenticity, those fears lose their grip. The more you honor your truth, the more you attract people, opportunities, and environments that honor it too. Your world begins to reshape itself around who you really are, not who you pretended to be. Unapologetic living is not about defiance for the sake of rebellion. It's about choosing honesty over approval, integrity over image. It's about saying, this is who I am, even when it makes others uncomfortable. Not to provoke, but to liberate. When one person dares to be real, it gives permission to others to do the same. In this way, authenticity becomes contagious. And in a world desperate for real connection, nothing is more valuable than someone who has the courage to be real. There is also great emotional and psychological liberation in living your truth. Pretending takes energy, the kind of energy that slowly drains your spirit. Hiding who you are can cause anxiety, depression, and a deep sense of isolation. But when you begin to show up as yourself, you begin to reclaim that lost energy. You start to feel grounded, empowered, and even joyful. That shift not only transforms your life, it inspires those around you to reevaluate their own truth. In the LGBTQ community, there is often a celebration of individuality, not as rebellion, but as survival. Expression through fashion, art, voice, and visibility is a joyful reclaiming of space. These expressions are not shallow or surface level, they are deeply rooted in identity and pride. To live your truth unapologetically is to say, I belong here just as I am. And that affirmation, repeated daily, creates a life that is not only authentic, but unshakably joyful. Love in its purest form is one of the most transformative and healing forces in human existence. Within the LGBTQ community, love often emerges in defiance of societal norms, religious doctrines, legal barriers, and deeply ingrained prejudice. And yet, despite these obstacles, it persists, not only survives, but thrives. And this resilience reveals that love is not fragile or conditional. It is courageous, radical, and enduring. When people love freely despite persecution, their love becomes more than personal. It becomes revolutionary. Many LGBTQ individuals grow up in environments where they are taught directly or indirectly that the way they love is wrong. They are made to feel ashamed of feelings that arise naturally and beautifully within them. But instead of turning away from love, they walk toward it with open arms, often after years of internal struggle, self-reflection, and personal growth. This kind of love, born from conflict and clarity, holds deep emotional wisdom. It teaches that love is not a mistake to be hidden, but a gift to be shared unapologetically. Same-sex love, non-binary love, gender-diverse love, all challenge the narrow definitions that society has long accepted. They remind us that love is not a fixed formula. It does not come in a single color, size, or structure. It is dynamic, fluid, and deeply human. To reduce love to legal categories or rigid traditions is to diminish its power. The LGBTQ community shows us that love can transcend labels, cultures, and expectations. And in doing so, it becomes even more profound. This lesson is not only valuable for LGBTQ people, it speaks to all of us. How many people live in fear of expressing their true emotions? How many relationships are denied, diluted, or hidden because they don't meet someone else's standard of acceptability? The LGBTQ experience invites everyone to love more openly, not just romantically, but with family, friends, and community. To say, I see you, I accept you, I love you, without shame or condition, is to wield love as a superpower, one that transforms individuals and communities alike. Love in the LGBTQ context is often about visibility. Public displays of affection, open declarations of identity, supportive relationships, all carry political and emotional weight. They defy the invisibility that many queer individuals have been forced into for generations. And in stepping out of the shadows, LGBTQ people show that love doesn't just heal the heart, it reshapes society. Love becomes a form of advocacy, a declaration of existence, and a daily act of hope. Pride is often publicly symbolized by parades filled with color, music, flags, and joyous celebration. While these parades are vibrant, powerful statements of identity and visibility, the meaning of pride extends far beyond the spectacle. For many in the LGBTQ community, pride is not just an annual event. It is a lifelong commitment to self-respect, dignity, and the ongoing struggle for equality. It is about standing tall in a world that often pressures you to stay silent or invisible. It is about reclaiming identity from the shadows and putting it boldly into the light. The roots of pride are grounded in resistance. The first pride marches were born out of protest, defiance against police brutality, discrimination and marginalization, most notably after the Stonewall riots. These early acts of rebellion were not about celebration, but about survival and demanding recognition. Pride, therefore, is a remembrance of that struggle and a recognition that the right to live freely and authentically was not handed over. It was fought for. This deeper meaning gives pride a weight that many people outside the LGBTQ community may not fully see. Living with pride means carrying that spirit of resistance and resilience into everyday life. It's found in the quiet moments, like when a teenager comes out to their parents, or when someone finally uses the pronouns that feel true to them. It's in the workplace when someone corrects a colleague's assumptions or chooses not to hide who their partner is. These moments aren't accompanied by confetti or music, but they are acts of pride nonetheless, expressions of dignity in the face of risk. They require courage and deserve to be honored just as much as the public celebrations. Pride also serves as a mirror for society, reflecting both progress and the work still to be done. In countries where LGBTQ rights are legally protected, pride becomes a celebration of how far the movement has come. In places where these rights are still denied is a protest, a cry for justice, and a demand to be seen. For many, pride is both a complicated mix of joy and pain, celebration and mourning. It's about honoring those who paved the way, those who are still fighting, and those who never made it to see the change they hoped for. At its heart, pride is a deeply personal experience. It is not owned by any one group or defined by any one image. For some, pride means boldly wearing rainbows and marching through city streets. For others, it means quietly loving who they love or simply existing in a world that told them not to. Every form of pride matters. Every expression adds to a tapestry of resilience, identity, and hope that stretches across generations. It reminds us that pride is not a single moment in June. It is a way of living every day in truth and strength. The concept of our chosen family is one of the most profound and healing lessons offered by the LGBTQ community. Unlike biological families, chosen families are formed through bonds of trust, shared experience, unconditional love, and mutual support. They often emerge when LGBTQ individuals are rejected or misunderstood by their relatives, or when they simply crave deeper connection with people who truly see and accept them. These chosen families are not bound by blood by intentional care, and in many cases, they provide the safety and validation that biology could not. For many LGBTQ individuals, coming out is met not with celebration, but with silence, shame, or severed ties. This kind of rejection creates emotional wounds that can last a lifetime. Yet in response to that loss, many find or build communities where they are seen, respected, and embraced. These chosen families become lifelines, people who show up during crisis, cheer on personal victories, and help navigate life's daily struggles. They become the new foundation upon which identity and healing can be safely rebuilt. Chosen families are not exclusive to the LGBTQ experience, but within the community, they hold a uniquely powerful role. They represent an intentional act of love. People actively choosing one another despite cultural, racial, or generational differences. This choice reflects a deep understanding that love is not limited by obligation, but instead grows strongest where it is freely given. In this sense, chosen families challenge traditional definitions of family and expand them into something more inclusive and humane. These relationships are often nurtured through shared rituals, inside jokes, emotional support, and a sense of home that goes far beyond physical space. Holidays are spent together, milestones are celebrated side by side, and grief is shared in intimate solidarity. In many LGBTQ households, these chosen families are responsible for creating a sense of belonging that some people spend their whole lives searching for. They prove that family is not just where you come from, but where you are deeply loved and deeply known. The beauty of chosen families also lies in their flexibility and diversity. They include friends, mentors, partners, elders, and even supportive coworkers or neighbors. This inclusive structure allows people to define connection in ways that suit their emotional needs and life circumstances. And in doing so, they model for the world that family is not just about tradition or legality. It's about presence, loyalty, compassion, and the daily choice to love someone exactly as they are. Joy, in the context of the LGBTQ community, is not just an emotion, it is an act of resistance. In a world that often marginalizes, erases, or punishes queer existence, to feel joy and to express it publicly becomes a powerful declaration of resilience. This kind of joy is not naive or blind to injustice. It is a deliberate and courageous response to it. When LGBTQ people dance, laugh, celebrate, create, and love openly, they are asserting their right to live fully in spite of a world that has, in many ways, tried to deny them that very right. This resistance through joy can be seen in the unapologetic beauty of drag shows, the vibrancy of pride festivals, the humor in queer art, and the power of queer love stories. It's a kind of joy that says, "I will not let your hate steal my spirit." It's about turning pain into performance, fear into freedom, and trauma into triumph. The very existence of queer joy in hostile spaces becomes a kind of protest, not loud and angry, but luminous and unyielding. It challenges the expectation that marginalized people must remain in a state of suffering or silence. Many LGBTQ individuals grow up learning how to suppress parts of themselves just to stay safe or be accepted. So when those same individuals find space to be free, their joy becomes sacred. It is a return to wholeness. It is healing in motion. This is why queer joy is often so expressive. It spills out in fashion, music, movement, language, and community. It becomes contagious, drawing in others who long to feel that same liberation. In this way, joy becomes a tool not only of personal survival, but of collective empowerment. Joy also creates visibility. In societies where being LGBTQ is often portrayed through negative or tragic narratives, joyful expressions subvert that image and offer something radically different. They show that queer life is not only about struggle, it is also about beauty, love, celebration, and strength. This visibility matters, especially for young people seeking to imagine a future for themselves. When they see others living joyfully despite all odds, it plants the seed of hope. It tells them, you can have this too. You deserve this too. In many ways, the resilience of queer joy has reshaped culture itself. From fashion to film, from music to memes, queer creativity has infused mainstream culture with color, courage, and playfulness. These contributions aren't accidental. They come from a long tradition of turning resistance into art, pain into expression, and exclusion into connection. Behind every laugh, every celebration, and every moment of queer joy, there's a story of endurance.